Star Wars Tales was a comic book anthology series from Dark Horse Comics that ran for 24 issues from 1999 to 2005. Each issue featured several short stories from various creators that are set in multiple eras of the Star Wars timeline. And most of the stories are non-continuity. Issue 21 was the first issue to entirely be composed of fully canonical stories. Equals and Opposites was published in issue 21 on October 20th, 2004, and was originally titled Flair for the Dramatic. So in reading Equals and Opposites, I had no prior recollection of it at all. I wasn't a big comic book reader, so I wasn't exposed to a lot of the Star Wars comics that came out at that time. So, a brief summary. Jedi Master Kyle Katarn and Alpha Blue operative Jan Ors join forces with Lieutenant Palin of the Imperial Remnant on Ord Cedra, which has been conquered by the Yuuzhan Vong. So first, a timeline disclaimer. Since Equals and Opposites involves the New Republic forces and the Imperial Remnant working together, it has to be set after Force Heretic Remnant. We don't really get any further elaboration beyond that, so I chose to place it in between Remnant and Refugee, but the only important part is that it's definitely after the first volume of the Force Heretic trilogy. So first, the good. It's just really nice to get to see Kyle Katarn and Jan Ors again. Kyle was the star of the Dark Force computer games, and he was also featured in a trilogy of novellas by William C. Dietz that chronicled his shift from Imperial officer to Rebel agent to Jedi Knight. Jan, meanwhile, is an Alderaanian who joined the Rebel Alliance in its early phases, and she's teamed up with Kyle both professionally and romantically for over 20 years at this point. We haven't seen much of Kyle, though, in the books. There was a throwaway reference to him in Remnant, so it was nice to see what he's been up to and get, I guess, like a slice of life look into what's been going on with him. Slice of life usually refers to a story that just looks at the more domestic side of a character, especially in regards to anime and manga. And while I'm sure that the normal person would not be fighting Yuuzhan Vong and blowing things up and saving potential slaves, that's just par for the course for Kyle at this point, so it did feel a lot like a slice of life vignette. It's only 14 pages, it's easy to read, and it's easy to go through, but I feel like at the same time, that was part of the meh here. Both the writing and the art are serviceable, they're not amazing, and they get sort of clunky at various parts. The main impetus in the plot is that Kyle has apparently been asking Jan to marry him, and Jan's been turning him down because she doesn't think this is the right time. Which, okay, but the way Kyle brings it up is he keeps referencing children, and at this point, Kyle and Jan have been together for so long that I just assumed that they weren't married because they chose not to be married. So for it to be this issue that's nagging at Kyle and Jan just repeatedly saying it's not the time, didn't really feel like the right place and time for this discussion. And the art is okay. The proportions are off at times, like what the heck is happening with Kyle's body here, but it tells the story fine. But since it's a slice of life story, in my opinion, we don't really have a beginning. We're thrown into the middle of the action, and the conclusion is like a conclusion for now. The Yuuzhan Vong's breakout is obviously foreshadowed when Kyle says, "You gotta keep an eye on them," and the lieutenant's like, "How hard could that be?" They stop them, Kyle saves Jan, and they're back to arguing about whether they're going to get married or not. So it's fun to see Kyle and Jan, but this story feels decidedly slight. But I will include a link to the PDF down in the description in case you want to read it yourself, and also catch up on what's been happening with Kyle behind the scenes during the New Jedi Order. So next time I'm going to be reading the second book in the Force Heretic trilogy by Sean Williams and Shane Dix, Force Heretic Refugee.